19 celebrities suffering from Ozempic face before and after. What if I told you Hollywood's hottest diet secret is literally carving the life out of some of your favorite faces? Jawline, suddenly razor-sharp cheeks, collapsing eyes looking older overnight, and behind it all, a diabetes drug never meant to be a red carpet accessory. From Oprah to athletes and reality stars, celebrities are paying a hidden price for those viral before and after shots. Is this medicine or slow-motion self-destruction? Hit subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence, smash that like button, and stay to the end, because once you see these transformations, you'll never look at celebrity weight loss the same way again. Oprah Winfrey. Within any countdown titled 19 Celebrities Suffering from Ozempic Face, before and after Oprah Winfrey inevitably becomes the emotional centerpiece. For decades, her changing size was treated as entertainment splashed across magazine covers and recycled in late-night monologues. Now, after openly acknowledging that she uses a modern GLP-1 weight loss medication prescribed by her doctor, she appears in her own after pictures, noticeably slimmer jawline, more defined cheeks, less rounded. These shifts arrive together with a clean break from her long association with a major diet brand as she stepped away from its board and handed over her shares to remove any suspicion that she was benefiting financially from the very injections she was using. On a primetime television special about this new wave of injectable treatments, Oprah did more than reveal a transformed outline. Under harsh studio lighting where every contour of what people call Ozempic face would be exposed, she calmly described years of fighting cravings, humiliation, and relentless public scrutiny. Physicians and everyday patients joined her on stage to discuss side effects, supply problems, and the moral question of using a diabetes drug partly for appearance. Rather than selling a miracle cure, she positioned these shots as one component in a medical strategy for managing obesity, insisting that excess weight is a long-term condition, not a personal weakness. The most unforgettable moment came later, when she confessed that the first dose of a GLP-1 changed her perception of naturally slim people. For most of her life, she believed they simply possessed superior discipline. Once the medication quieted the constant mental noise around eating, she realized some bodies never face that overwhelming struggle at all. In a montage of before and after images, her leaner face may resemble many other celebrity transformations, but the narrative behind it hits harder. A global icon turning her own controversial makeover into a reckoning about health, beauty, and the hidden price of chasing a smaller frame. Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg has become one of the most talked-about public figures in the ongoing conversation about Ozempic face. For years, audiences of The View followed her candid remarks about aging, weight, and health. At nearly 300 pounds during the filming of Till, she decided to begin weekly Mounjaro injections, a GLP-1 GIP medication, in the same family as Ozempic to help manage her diabetes and overall well-being. As months passed, viewers noticed visible changes, a slimmer neck, sharply contoured cheekbones, and the kind of sudden transformation that rarely escapes public scrutiny. When speculation flooded social media, Whoopi cut through the rumors confirming that the treatment was real and that it had worked for her. Her transformation, while medically supervised, also revealed the physical side effects that many users describe. Rapid weight loss can leave facial features looking drawn, skin looser, and volume depleted, a look the internet dubbed Ozempic face. Under studio lights, those changes became unmistakable. Yet Whoopi refused to hide behind filters or evasive answers. She joked about losing almost 2 people and emphasized that her goal wasn't cosmetic perfection, but reclaiming her health after years of exhaustion and strain. Her honesty helped turn what could have been tabloid fodder into an educational moment about the realities of using prescription medication for weight control. What makes her story resonate beyond celebrity gossip is the courage in her framing. Rather than pretending her results came solely from willpower or diet, she described Mounjaro as a medical tool, something to be discussed openly, not whispered about with shame. She used her platform to challenge stigma, reminding audiences that behind every before and after is a complex battle with health, self-image, and the public's harsh judgment. In doing so, Whoopi Goldberg transformed her own visible change into a conversation about acceptance, transparency, and the real human faces behind Hollywood's newest obsession. Kelly Clarkson. Kelly Clarkson's transformation is one of the most dissected before and after images in the whole Ozempic-era conversation. For a long time, fans were used to seeing her as the relatable, curvy powerhouse behind the mic on The Kelly Clarkson Show. Then almost overnight, in TV time, her face appeared slimmer, her jawline more defined, the fullness in her cheeks noticeably reduced. Viewers immediately slapped the label Ozempic face onto her new look, convinced she must be on the same injections circulating through Hollywood. But when she finally addressed the rumors, she was crystal clear. Yes, she's on a prescription weight loss drug. And no, it is not Ozempic. Kelly explained that the turning point came when she watched a performance of herself on screen and didn't even recognize her own body. At her heaviest, she said she was around 203 pounds pre-diabetic, and her blood work was so bad that her doctor spent nearly 2 years trying to convince her to try medication. She resisted at first, worried about her thyroid and long-term effects, but eventually agreed to a treatment that helps her body break down sugar properly. Combined with a move to New York City, where walking everywhere became a built-in workout, plus protein-focused meals, infrared saunas, and cold plunges, the pounds started coming off fast. The cameras caught everything softer, contours tightening her neck and chin, receding makeup suddenly sitting on a much leaner canvas. What's striking is how Kelly talks about this shift. She insists she was never secretly miserable at a higher weight, just unaware of how far things had gone. People assume she must have been desperate or vain. She counters that it was about health and staying alive for her kids. In a culture obsessed with guessing which celebrity is on which shot, her story sits in a complicated middle ground, a dramatically different face and figure fueled by a drug everyone misidentifies, and a reminder that behind each Ozempic face headline is someone trying to balance medical reality with a world that judges every frame they appear in. Serena Williams. Serena Williams has become one of the clearest real-life examples of a modern Ozempic era before and after. Even though the specific drug she chose is Zepbound, another GLP-1 medication. After giving birth to her daughters in 2017 and 2023, she found herself in an unfamiliar battle. No matter how hard she trained, how clean she ate, the scale refused to move. She has said openly that she could never get back to a weight that felt healthy, even as someone who literally trained at the highest level in the world. That's when she turned to a GLP-1 injection prescribed through the telehealth company Ro, and everything shifted. Over about 8 months, she lost 31 pounds on Zepbound, enough for fans to do a double-take at every new photo, a leaner jaw, less fullness in her cheeks, a visibly lighter frame. What makes Serena's transformation so striking is the contrast between her old image and her new one. For years, she was celebrated and sometimes criticized for a strong, muscular, curvy body that broke the mold of what a female champion should look like. In her recent appearances, the difference is unmistakable. Dresses hang differently. Her face looks narrower, and side-by-side comparisons show just how fast medically assisted weight loss can redraw a person's features. It's exactly the kind of drastic visual shift people now shorthand as Ozempic face, even though in her case, the active brand is different. Instead of dodging questions, she stepped straight into the conversation, confirming the medication and emphasizing that she still works out and eats well. The shot is a tool, not a magic wand. Serena's story also challenges the lazy narrative that weight loss injections are for people who won't try hard enough. If an athlete with 23 Grand Slam titles, years of brutal training, and legendary discipline couldn't move the needle after pregnancy, it suggests biology can be a louder opponent than most people want to admit. She's talked about joint pain easing, blood sugar improving, and feeling more like her old self, lighter physically and mentally, while also insisting that women should love themselves at any size. Her very public before and after doesn't just fuel gossip about celebrity faces. It forces a deeper question at the heart of this GLP-1 wave. when even Serena Williams needs pharmaceutical backup to feel healthy again? How fair are the expectations we place on every other body, famous or not? Kandi Burruss. Kandi Burruss represents a very different kind of story in the era of Ozempic face and dramatic before-after collages. She's the star whose body refused to change. While castmates on reality TV seemed to shrink from one reunion special to the next, Kandi quietly signed up for the same type of injectable weight loss treatment, paying roughly $1,200 a month and following medical guidance. After 3 months, she stepped on the scale and saw the most demoralizing number possible: no difference at all. No loosened clothes, no sharper jawline, no hollowed cheeks for the internet to dissect. Just the exact same figure, plus a growing sense of frustration that the miracle everyone hyped simply didn't work on her. That made every public appearance feel like a psychological minefield. At events, fans and fellow housewives watched Kenya Moore and Marlo Hampton show up visibly smaller, the kind of rapid transformation everyone now associates with GLP-1 drugs. Kandi, meanwhile, was still ordering wings, mac and cheese, and peach cobbler at her family's restaurant, waiting for the famous appetite suppression to kick in, and wondering why her cravings never truly faded. Underneath the glam, she was hearing the harshest question anyone can ask themselves in a weight-obsessed world. What's wrong with me? If even this doesn't work. Doctors later told her something crucial. There's a percentage of people whose bodies simply don't respond to these medications at all. Her experience adds a missing chapter to the 19 celebrities suffering from Ozempic face narrative. Most headlines obsess over gaunt features and sunken eyes. But Kandi's reality is the flip side. There isn't a shocking facial transformation, and that absence becomes its own kind of torment. She paid the same money, took the same shots, endured the same hopes, and ended up with no cinematic after photo to show for it. In a culture that worships visible change, her story exposes a quieter, more painful truth: that for some people the cost of chasing a new body is emotional rather than physical, and the scars are invisible, but every bit as real. Roxy Jacenko. Roxy Jacenko is the cautionary opener to any story about 19 celebrities suffering from Ozempic face, before and after. While many stars quietly slide onto weight loss injections and emerge with sharper cheekbones and slimmer red carpet silhouettes, Roxy's after started with a decision that nearly killed her. Desperate to drop around 15 kilograms quickly, the Australian PR powerhouse didn't just follow the prescription, she multiplied it. Instead of easing in on a low starter dose, she reportedly took 4 times the recommended amount right out of the gate, chasing faster results than her body could possibly handle. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Within a short time, Roxy was no longer thinking about smaller clothes or camera angles. She was fighting to stay conscious. Uncontrollable vomiting seizure-like episodes and a body in full crisis landed her in hospital, where she spent 3 days in emergency care while doctors tried to stabilize her system. This is the dark edge, hidden behind so many glossy before and after photos. The same medication that seems to quietly hollow out celebrity faces can, when abused, throw a healthy adult into a full-scale medical emergency. There was no glamorous reveal, no soft focus after shoot. Just monitors, felines, and the terrifying realization that a vanity decision had crossed into life-threatening territory. What makes Roxy's chapter so important in this narrative is what came next. Instead of brushing it off as a one-time scare, she's become one of the loudest critics of using these injections purely for looks. Coming from someone whose career revolves around image and influence, her message hits harder. This is not a toy, not a quick fix, not just another beauty hack. When she warns others about the dangers, you can almost see the real before and after here. Before a woman willing to risk everything to be smaller. After someone who's seen how close that pursuit can come to taking everything away. Jennifer Fessler. Jennifer Fessler's story sits in that uncomfortable space where a before and after headline hides what really happened in between. As a cast member of The Real Housewives, she watched the same injectable trend sweep through her circle. Smaller waists, lighter frames, faces thinning out for each new season. She joined in under medical supervision, followed the dosing schedule, and did exactly what so many others were doing. The scale moved from around 180 pounds down to 158, roughly 22 pounds, gone. On the surface, it looked like a textbook success. Her silhouette changed, her clothes fit differently. Her on-camera presence seemed to match the new standard. But underneath that polished exterior, her body was quietly heading toward crisis. These medications slow the digestive system, and Jennifer admitted she largely brushed off the basic instructions. Drink more water. Make sure you're getting enough fiber. Listen carefully to what your gut is telling you. Instead of an effortless glide to a new figure, she ended up in the emergency room with a severely impacted bowel, a condition so painful she could barely move, let alone smile for the cameras. The same drug that was supposed to sculpt her figure had turned her intestines into a traffic jam. Rather than worrying about Ozempic face, she was suddenly facing scans, medications to get things moving, and the real possibility of serious complications if it didn't resolve. What makes Jennifer's experience crucial to the broader conversation is how avoidable parts of it were. She didn't overdose or buy anything off the street. She simply treated a powerful prescription like a shortcut that didn't require lifestyle changes. Her after photos might show a slimmer jawline and a tighter dress, but the real image that lingers is her on a hospital bed, realizing that missing simple habits, hydration, fiber, regular monitoring, nearly turned a cosmetic goal into a medical emergency. In a culture obsessed with visible transformation, her story is a reminder that the most dangerous side effects aren't always the ones you can see on someone's face. Dolores Catania. Dolores Catania is the embodiment of what happens when the dream after quietly snaps back to before. As a longtime presence in the Real Housewives universe, viewers saw her debut a noticeably smaller frame, openly sharing that she'd dropped around 20 pounds with the help of weight loss injections. Clothes hung looser, her face looked more angular, and for a moment it seemed like another textbook success medication, plus determination equals a new camera-ready silhouette. In the world obsessed with Ozempic face, her sharper features slotted neatly into the trending aesthetic. But then, the part nobody puts on a glam poster happened. Her body simply stopped responding. The same treatment that once suppressed her appetite and melted off pounds suddenly went silent. Slowly, almost cruelly, the weight crept back. Those 20 pounds she'd celebrated losing returned, leaving her not just physically changed again, but emotionally drained. While she was navigating this reversal, she also faced heart surgery, forcing her to halt everything and confront the reality that her health was far more complicated than a number on a scale or a jawline on camera. Dolores's story cuts through the fantasy of permanent transformation. There is no magic freeze frame where the after-image lasts forever. Instead, she's left dealing with the fallout of a brutal yo-yo skin and energy stretched by rapid loss, then challenged again by regaining what she thought was gone for good. Her experience is a stark reminder that these drugs are not fairy dust. For many, they're temporary patches. And when the effect fades, you aren't just back where you started, you're carrying the physical and emotional shock of having your body whipped through extremes in front of an audience. Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera is one of the clearest examples of how a drastic makeover can be swept into the Ozempic face conversation even when no injection is ever confirmed. For years, audiences knew her as the powerhouse singer with a fuller figure experimenting with different looks, but always instantly recognizable. Then came a new chapter. Reports say she dropped around 40 pounds and turned up on stage and at events looking dramatically leaner, her jawline sharper, her cheeks less rounded, her whole silhouette tightened. Before and after photos raced across social media, and the internet did what it always does. Now many people immediately assumed she must be on the same type of GLP-1 injections that have transformed so many other celebrity bodies. Christina, however, points to something very different. She has spoken about refocusing on a structured eating plan, often described as a rainbow approach, building plates around colorful vegetables and fruits, pairing them with lean protein and healthy fats, keeping calories controlled and processed food to a minimum. Add in regular training strength work, cardio yoga boxing, and the story she tells is one of discipline and lifestyle change rather than a secret syringe. She's been the target of rumors about liposuction and quick-fix supplements, but the consistent line from her camp is that her transformation comes from food choices, portion control, and movement, not surgery, or publicly acknowledged weight loss drugs. What makes her place in a 19 celebrities suffering from Ozempic face? Before and after narrative. So interesting is that she sits right at the fault line between fact and speculation. The visual arc is exactly what people now associate with injectable trends, a softer, rounder face, giving way to a narrower, more sculpted one. Yet the only confirmed tools in her story are diet and exercise. Her journey shows how in this era any dramatic change to a famous woman's body is instantly folded into the Ozempic mythos, whether or not the medicine itself was ever part of the script. Kyle Richards. Kyle Richards has become one of the most polarizing faces in the whole Ozempic era before and after conversation. For years, fans of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills saw her as fit but relatable, someone who worked out but still looked like a real person, not a filtered cartoon. Then came the photos that changed everything. Sun-drenched bikini shots, gym selfies, red carpet angles where her ribs popped and her frame looked noticeably smaller. Social media lit up instantly. Comment sections filled with accusations that she'd jumped on the same injectable trend sweeping Hollywood, that her sharper cheekbones and more hollowed look could only come from a needle, not a diet plan. Kyle didn't stay silent. She pushed back hard, laying out her routine in interviews and on podcasts. She cut out alcohol completely, slashed sugar and refined carbs, leaned heavily on protein, and doubled down on her workouts. According to her, that's what shifted her from around 132 pounds to about 117. Not Ozempic, not Mounjaro, not any GLP-1 injection. She described early morning gym sessions, strict eating windows, and a total lifestyle overhaul. Yet the more she insisted it was all natural, the more a portion of the audience dug in, comparing past screenshots to recent ones and pointing to what they insisted looked like textbook Ozempic face, a face that has lost soft volume faster than time alone would allow. What makes Kyle's place in this narrative so compelling is the tension between what she says and what people think they see. Her after isn't a quiet evolution. It's a drastic shift that arrived in a very short window under the harsh lens of HD cameras and ruthless viewers. Whether her transformation came solely from discipline or not, the reaction around it exposes something bigger in a world now trained to spot hollowed cheeks and shrinking bodies as proof of secret shots. Even a hard-earned change can be dismissed as just another Ozempic story. Kyle Richards stands right at that fault line between dedication and doubt, between her truth and everyone else's assumptions about what it takes to look like her now. Chelsea Handler. Chelsea Handler's chapter in the Ozempic face. Before and after story is the kind that strips away all the glamour. She has talked about how casually it all started, visiting her anti-aging doctor, being handed a prescription the way someone might offer a vitamin shot, barely realizing she was on semaglutide at all. At first, it felt like just another Hollywood wellness hack until the side effects hit. The nausea was so intense she could barely function, let alone perform. Her appetite evaporated, the weight began to slide off, and with it came a new, sharper version of her face in the mirror, leaner, more hollow, the kind of sudden change that the internet now instantly labels as Ozempic face. But behind that after photo was a body in revolt. Chelsea has described extreme digestive issues, the kind that required real medical intervention, not just a day of resting on the couch. Her moods swung hard, putting strain on friendships and relationships, and she started to feel like she wasn't fully herself, like she was, in her own words, slowly poisoning her body in the name of vanity. The visual transformation that would have made a perfect tabloid side by side came bundled with a private reality that was anything but aspirational. Long days of exhaustion, a stomach that never felt quite right, and a creeping fear that she'd done real damage chasing an easier route to thinness. What makes Chelsea's story powerful in this 19 celebrity arc is what she chose to do next. She stopped the injections and began the slow process of recovery, only to discover that coming off the drug didn't magically reset everything. The digestive problems and energy crashes lingered well beyond her last dose, a reminder that these medications don't just redraw the face. They can leave echoes deep inside the body. Instead of pretending it was all worth it, she went public, using her platform to warn others that there is a vast, painful space between a viral afterpicture and what it really costs to get there. Scott Disick. Scott Disick has quietly become one of the most striking before and after faces in the whole Ozempic-era conversation. After years of being known as the tanned, broad-shouldered Lord Disick on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, his look began to change dramatically in 2023-2024. A bad car accident and back injuries left him unable to work out, and he packed on weight he later described as tough to live with. According to what he's since said on the Kardashians, that's when he turned to a GLP-1 weight loss injection, specifically Mounjaro, to slim down, admitting on camera that he took it and was not embarrassed about getting pharmaceutical help after struggling with overeating and nightly junk food binges. The transformation was fast and shocking. Paparazzi photos showed him with a much thinner frame, his clothes hanging looser, his once full face now sharply carved out. Cheeks that used to look youthful and padded suddenly appeared hollow. His jaw more pronounced, dark circles more visible. Fans flooded social media asking if he was sick relapsing or on Ozempic, and tabloids began using him as a textbook example of so-called Ozempic face, that gaunt, slightly aged look that can appear when facial fat disappears more quickly than the skin can adjust. Reports from unnamed insiders claimed he had gone too far with the injections, while doctors in the press warned that such a drastic change can be a sign of malnutrition and carries real health risks if the weight drops too quickly. What's important is where the story goes next. Recent coverage says Scott has recognized how extreme his appearance became, decided to stop the medication, and is now working with a nutritionist to find a healthier, more sustainable balance instead of chasing the thinnest possible version of himself. His case shows every layer of the modern GLP-1 narrative: injury and weight gain, the seductive promise of a weekly shot, the viral shock of a transformed face, and finally the realization that there's a difference between looking good in photos and actually being well. In the gallery of 19 celebrity transformations, Scott Disick's before and after might be one of the clearest warnings about how far and how fast these drugs can take a person. Boy George. Boy George's name adds a very particular kind of weight to any discussion of celebrity Ozempic face. For decades, the Culture Club frontman has been scrutinized not just for his music and fashion, but for his changing body. In his memoir, Karma, he finally dropped the filter and admitted what so many people were only whispering: he uses Mounjaro, a GLP-1 medication from the same powerful family as Ozempic. He explains that he turned to it after a painful cosmetic procedure and a lifetime of battling his appetite, describing himself simply and bluntly as someone who loves food and struggles to stop. Instead of pretending his slimmer frame came from willpower alone, he writes, "I'm on Mounjaro. Isn't everyone?" That throwaway line hits like a confession and an accusation at the same time. When you see his more recent photos face narrower jawline, more defined, the roundness that once softened his features, now pulled back. It's easy to understand why he jokingly suggests that anyone who was fat last year and is now skinny is likely on the same wonder drug. His own before and after journey is written across his face. The makeup and flamboyant hats remain, but the structure beneath them has changed, giving him a sharper, almost more severe look that fans immediately noticed. In the era of viral side-by-side collages, Boy George's transformation has been folded into the larger mythos of Ozempic face, that uncanny shift where the body shrinks and the face seems to age and tighten in response. What makes his story different is how casually he talks about it. There's no attempt to spin a clean-eating fairy tale or a brutal gym routine. There's just a famous man shrugging and saying essentially, "Of course I'm on it, and so is everyone else." Coming from someone who's built a career on bending gender norms and confronting public judgment head-on, that honesty cuts through the usual celebrity secrecy. His before and after isn't presented as a triumph or a tragedy, but as a symptom of a culture where powerful diabetes drugs have quietly become just another tool in the image-obsessed arsenal of the rich and visible. Tori Spelling. Tori Spelling's journey is one of the clearest, most textbook before and after arcs in this whole GLP-1 craze. After the birth of her fifth child, Beau, the Beverly Hills 90210 alum, found herself in a body she barely recognized, a lifelong 120-pound frame suddenly sitting at around 160 pounds with every diet hack and workout trend failing her. She tried intermittent fasting, forced herself to exercise even though she hates it, and still the scale wouldn't budge. That's when doctors suggested diabetes drugs that had quietly become Hollywood's loudest secret. She first experimented with Ozempic and felt nothing. No dramatic appetite crash, no effortless slimming. So her doctor switched her to Mounjaro, and that's when the real transformation began. Over the following months, Tori dropped roughly 40 pounds, sliding back down to about 120. Red carpet shots and paparazzi photos captured the shift in real-time: arms and waist, shrinking face noticeably narrower, the soft roundness that defined her 90s teen idol look, replaced by sharper lines and a more angular profile. It's the kind of visual evolution people now instantly label Ozempic face cheeks. Less full jawline, suddenly crisp, the subtle suggestion that the skin is chasing a body that changed faster than nature intended. The most surreal detail she's shared. Her own kids struggled to recognize her when they watched old episodes of 90210, seeing a version of their mother whose features belonged to another chapter of her life. What makes Tori's story stand out is the way she talks about it. She doesn't pretend she did it with salads and willpower alone. She freely admits, "I did Mounjaro. I don't feel ashamed saying that," and has been off it since the end of January 2024 because she's afraid of getting too thin. Her before and after isn't framed as a fairy tale or a scandal, but as a brutally honest look at a woman who turned to powerful medicine when age hormones and pressure collided and now has to live with a face and body that prove just how strong those drugs really are. Amy Schumer. Amy Schumer's role in the GLP-1 story is less glossy transformation and more hard-earned warning. After pregnancy, she turned to Ozempic to drop weight. And at first glance, it did exactly what everyone promises: she lost around 30 pounds in a short period of time. But behind the smaller number on the scale, her life fell apart. She's described being essentially bedridden with constant nausea and vomiting, so drained she could barely function. The breaking point came when her young son wanted to play, and she literally didn't have the strength to join him. In that moment, the after stopped feeling like success and started looking like a bad bargain. Later, she found out she has a variation in the GDF15 gene, which makes her extremely prone to nausea, the same reason her pregnancy sickness was so severe. On Ozempic, that genetic vulnerability turned a trendy treatment into a nightmare: endless queasiness, no energy, and a body that might have looked better to outsiders but felt utterly wrecked from the inside. She said that even as the compliments rolled in about how slim she looked, she felt pale, weak, and disconnected from herself, asking the question nobody sees in a before and after collage. What's the point of being thinner if I can't live my life? Amy eventually stepped away from Ozempic and chose a different path. She's been open about getting liposuction in 2022, later trying Mounjaro with much closer medical supervision and using hormone therapy to navigate perimenopause. Those choices, she says, helped her feel stronger without destroying her day-to-day life. What sets her apart in the Ozempic face era is how fiercely she pushes for honesty. She calls out celebrities who pretend their dramatic shifts come only from diet and exercise, and keeps urging people to be real about what they're using and how it feels. Her photos may fit neatly into any before and after grid, but the story behind them is a reminder that genetics, side effects, and quality of life matter far more than a shrinking dress size. Sharon Osbourne. Sharon Osbourne's story is one of the starkest before and after images in the entire Ozempic-era narrative. For years, audiences knew her as the sharp-tongued glam matriarch on reality TV with a figure that fluctuated, but always looked solid and alive on camera. Then came the injections. Determined to slim down, she turned to a GLP-1 weight loss drug and watched the numbers on the scale tumble. At first, it felt like a victory, clothes hanging loose, a smaller frame, a face that looked more sculpted under studio lights. But the drop didn't stop where she expected. The weight kept falling until she herself described looking too thin, a version of her reflection she didn't recognize and frankly didn't like. Behind that dramatic after photo was a daily life that had become almost unmanageable. Sharon has spoken about being unable to eat, about constant nausea that robbed her of enjoyment and energy, about feeling exhausted even when she wasn't doing much at all. The appetite suppression everyone praises turned into a trap. She simply wasn't hungry even when her body desperately needed fuel. Friends, family, and viewers noticed the change first in her face. Cheeks, hollowed eyes, more sunken, the skin around her jaw and neck suddenly loose. What the internet gleefully labeled Ozempic face felt to her like a slow erosion of strength and vitality. The hardest part, she's admitted, came after she stopped. Ending the injections didn't instantly restore her curves or her appetite. Gaining weight back proved far more difficult than losing it, and her eating patterns and energy levels took time to recover. Sharon's journey turns the usual fantasy of effortless transformation inside out. Yes, there is a striking before and after, but the line between them is filled with dizziness, weakness, and the creeping sense that she'd let the pursuit of thinness run too far. Her experience stands as a warning when the face in the mirror starts to look more like a stranger than a success story. It might already be too late to call it just weight loss. Jackie Goldschneider. Jackie Goldschneider is the rare housewife who looked at the new wave of injections and said absolutely not, and then took it a step further by calling out the entire culture around them. On camera, while castmates traded tips about weight loss shots and dressed it up as wellness, Jackie's face hardened. She'd spent years trapped in a devastating eating disorder, counting every bite, shrinking herself to the point of danger. So when she watched friends and fellow women glamorize a drug that mimics starvation, she didn't see self-care. She saw her old illness coming back in a more socially acceptable outfit. At that tense dinner, she finally snapped, "Stop calling it wellness. It's voluntary starvation." The table fell silent, but she refused to soften the words. Her own before and after isn't a neat collage of a larger body becoming smaller. It's the journey from sick thin to genuinely recovering. In her book and interviews, Jackie has been brutally honest about how long it took to eat more than a few bites to let her body fill out in places the camera might not approve. So when GLP-1 shots swept through her world, shaving pounds and hollowing cheeks in record time, it felt to her like the industry was handing out eating disorders in syringe form and calling it empowerment. Watching women proudly display what the internet now nicknames Ozempic face was for Jackie, like watching her own past being resold as a lifestyle upgrade. What makes her role in this 19 celebrity narrative so important is the way she turns the spotlight around. Instead of asking, "How did she get so thin?" Jackie asks, "Why are we celebrating this so loudly?" Behind the tight dresses and sharper jawlines, she sees production assistants, young viewers, and vulnerable fans quietly absorbing the message that smaller is always better no matter the method. Her refusal to join in and her willingness to be the buzzkill at the table makes her one of the strongest counter-voices in a culture that still worships the after photo more than the person surviving inside it. Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell's story is one of the most haunting before and after arcs in this whole GLP-1 era, because the biggest change didn't just happen on the outside. Using Mounjaro under medical supervision, she dropped more than 50 pounds in a relatively short window. The physical shift was dramatic clothes hanging off her face, noticeably narrower jawline, more cut, the soft fullness that audiences had known for decades suddenly gone. In photos and interviews, it looked like the kind of transformation people now automatically fold into the Ozempic face narrative, a body and face rapidly resized by a powerful injection. But Rosie has been brutally open about what came next. She developed intense body dysmorphia. Instead of celebrating every new after picture, she found herself staring at her reflection and thinking, "I can't believe this is me." The image in the mirror no longer matched the person she felt like inside, and compliments about how amazing she looked only made the disconnect worse. In the middle of all this, she relocated to Ireland, a move many fans interpreted as a way to step out of the blinding American spotlight, while her body and mind tried to catch up with the change. The weight loss solved some physical issues, but it didn't magically erase decades of complicated feelings about size, aging, and visibility. Rosie's experience adds a crucial layer to the Ozempic face conversation. It's not just about hollowed cheeks or a sharper profile. It's about how violently a rapid transformation can shake your sense of identity. Her before and after isn't framed as a simple victory or disaster, it's a psychological earthquake. She stands as a reminder that when the world praises the new version of you a little too loudly, it can be hard to trust your own eyes, your own body, and your own idea of who you are. Lottie Moss. Lottie Moss is one of the most extreme real-life warnings in the whole Ozempic story. At just 26, already slim and working as a model like her half-sister Kate Moss, she started using Ozempic not for diabetes, but because she felt not happy with her weight. Instead of going through a full medical workup, she got the drug below board through a friend and began taking doses meant for someone far bigger than she was. At the time, she weighed around 60 kilos, about 132 kilos, but she injected an amount designed for people over 100 kilos, around 220 kilos, essentially a dose for someone almost twice her size. The effect was fast and vicious. In just 2 weeks, Lottie dropped roughly 7 kilos, falling from about 60 kilos down to 53 kilos, 132 to 116. On paper, that's the kind of rapid before and after change that social media worships. In reality, she was so violently ill she could barely notice the weight loss. She was throwing up constantly, couldn't keep down food or even water, felt exhausted and bedridden for days. When she finally went to the emergency room at 3 in the morning, a nurse took one look at her dosage and told her it was nowhere near what she should have been taking. Then, her body crashed. Severely dehydrated, Lottie suffered a seizure in hospital, her face-clenching hands, locked whole body tensing up while she lay on the bed, unable to move. Later on her Dream On podcast, she called Ozempic the worst decision I ever made and begged listeners not to copy her. Her after isn't a glamorous red carpet reveal. It's a young woman shaking on a gurney, realizing she risked her life for a few lost kilos. In the gallery of celebrity GLP-1 stories, Lottie Moss isn't just another transformation. She's the flashing red warning sign that these drugs in the wrong dose and for the wrong reasons can break a body long before they sculpt a face. In the end, these 19 stories aren't just gossip about Ozempic face, they're a mirror held up to all of us. Celebrities gamble with powerful drugs under crushing pressure, but the real question is, would we choose differently if every kilo, every wrinkle, every contour of our face was judged in HD? Are these injections a breakthrough for health, or a glossy new disguise for the same old obsession with being smaller at any cost? At Legends of Black Excellence, we'll keep asking the uncomfortable questions. Now it's your turn. Is this progress? Or have we gone too far?